In terms of this new election process, the opposition has decided to boycott it. What does it mean in terms of this new assembly's legitimacy?
Well, the opposition say that it's completely illegitimate, that the vote is illegal, that it's just a ploy by President Maduro to remain in power, despite his dwindling popularity, and they have no intention of recognizing it.
All right. Well, after the formation of this new assembly, what steps are you expecting from the opposition?
Well, it somewhat depends on how this constituent assembly decides to conduct itself. Its powers are very broad, but ill-defined, and it's not necessarily the case that it will actually draw up a new constitution. It may just decide to operate as a legislature, in which case supplanting the elected legislature, which is controlled by the opposition, in which case there's bound to be an escalation of the current protests and violence, and things are going to get even worse than they are at the moment.
So it's a more of a wait-and-see attitude. Okay, well, we know that the European Union, as well as some Latin American countries, have voiced their concern, their criticism for this entire process, saying that it will sort of set back the democracy in the country by decades. The United States has slapped some sanctions onto some of the country's ruling elite. How do you see the international community's reaction shaping up, or again, is this going to be sort of dependent on what this new constituent assembly does from now on?
Well, I think President Trump, for instance, has threatened dire consequences if the Constituent Assembly takes place. This could involve targeted sanctions on individuals, or perhaps sanctions against the Venezuelan state oil company, which accounts for well over 90% of the country's foreign exchange earnings, which of course would have disastrous results for Venezuela. And I think a lot of people criticizing this suggestion, saying, no, that's not the way to do it at all. The European Union, which is also dismayed by the Constituent Assembly, are calling for a regional initiative by other Latin American countries to trying to get the two sides together to negotiate. This is the only reasonable way forward, but that seems to be a very long way off still. The opposition are out on the streets, and the government shows no signs of being interested in talking to them.
Okay. Well, when you look at the approval ratings of Nicolas Maduro, it's extremely high. What is the apparatus that's keeping him in power?
Well, he's got about 20% support according to opinion polls. So we say 1 in 5 Venezuelans still support him, despite the disastrous state of the country. The main support of the president, of the current government, is the military, the armed forces, which the senior commanders of the armed forces are very much part of the government. It's a sort of semi-militarized government, and they have been given both political power and a share in the pervasive corruption which is everywhere in Venezuela. And there's no sign at the moment that support for the president is wavering, although there are some rumors that some officers, perhaps in the middle ranks of the armed forces, are not happy about the rising levels of repression, that more than 100 people have been killed in the last few months of demonstrations and protests, and that this can't go on. It's hard to see at the moment whether there could be a split in the armed forces, in which there are two sides, those who support the government and those who don't, but that is not impossible if this situation continues to get worse, in which case there is serious talk in some quarters of the possibility of a civil war, but we're some way from that yet.